In 1992, there came on the market rubies from Mongshu, Myanmar in huge quantities. They were a beautiful red color and they were inexpensive, but there was something different about them. The Mongshu rubies had a purple to violet core that if you heated up around 1500 degrees centigrade, you could remove that. Might look like a whitish core then, leave more of a pure red color. But the crystals were often highly fractured, a lot of fractures on them. The Thais already knew that if they could heat these stones with borax, something besides color change would occur. This is an unfilled fracture in a ruby. If I heat it at high temperatures, getting above 1750 probably, maybe getting around 1800, in the presence of borax, a flux, this material that's not solid will enter the fracture. And think about what you have. You have high heat, you have a flux, a catalyst for growth, and you have all the ingredients of ruby. So you can literally grow new ruby in that fracture, which is what I'm showing here, trapping some of the flux or residue that we call residue now with the heat treatment. You did what we called heal or partially healed the fracture. Now this flux would often leave a very glassy residue right at the surface, and that was not entirely durable, so they would remove that with acid often after the treatment. This area is a new growth of ruby. It is healed. This area, the change is permanent. So that's what they mean with residue is present, usually ruby. H1, H2, and then some labs go H3, even through H5. It's simply telling you how much residue is present. Now here we're looking at it in the dark field illumination. This is where the fissure broke the surface. Now in reflected light, this was an entire, but after the flux and heat and the healing of the fissure, you just have some small dotted pits remaining of the opening. The rest of all of this has all been healed. Here we have a close-up shot of some of the residue in this H1 synthetic. And notice how in some areas it's looking white and opaque, like a flux inclusion would in a synthetic flux-grown gemstone. And then other areas, it's getting a little bit maybe more transparent, looking a little glassy appearing. Both appearances are seen. Here's another close-up shot, and this is the residue. Again, it can look what we call drippy sometimes, coarse and grainy, or glassy appearing. Now this is getting into an H2 or lower stone, and you can see the number designates there is more residue present. This is the issue. When there's cavities, number one, if they're big enough, you're paying ruby prices for glass weight. Number two, this is not durable. This can be chipped easier, this can be destroyed out of the cavity, and then you're left with a nasty looking cavity in your ruby.